Hello, welcome to the Fit Mama Freedom Podcast. I'm so excited to have you here on this podcast. Our desire is to help empower women to reclaim their health and their well-being without sacrificing their health in order to chase a rank or any dream. I'm Angela Campbell, your host, and I'm excited to guide you on this transformative journey. In each episode you hear, we're going to dive into challenges women face as they juggle business, responsibilities, family duties, and the pressures of this crazy world of dieting culture that is running rampant. It's time to break free from the mindset that you have to choose between your health and your responsibilities, because that is a lie. Together, we'll explore practical strategies, inspiring stories, and expert insights that will help you prioritize your health while thriving in all areas of your life. So whether you're a busy mom, a driven entrepreneur, or just someone looking to control or to take control of your well-being, you are in the right place. Let's get started on this journey to freedom and empowerment. And let me tell you, you guys are in for a treat today. And perfect. I see some eyes already hopping on, ready to go. All right, so quick intro, and you are going to hear more from my amazing friend Melissa today with the topic that I know is so, and one, important to be educated around. Number two, so many of you are struggling with menopause, whether it's perimenopause, straight up menopause, postmenopause, or all of the things. And even if you're not there yet, you need to be educated around it. And I find it's so important. And so Melissa here, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background, you guys. We were just talking, and back in 2020, we did a dual live. I cannot believe it's been so freaking long. That's a shame. We did another podcast video in here about Hashimoto's. And so her and I connected. She's a specialist and has done so much research in things like Hashimoto's and has really shifted so much through researching with menopause, but she's also a holistic health practitioner. And so someone I trust, and is always the one that I'm like, okay, help me out, girl. I don't know how to do this. I got some people that need some help. So with that said, just over the 5 years of coaching myself and having this Facebook community, I know I have personally shifted as a woman in my 40s and hormones, but so many women in here. So if you're dealing with menopause of any stage, put menopause in the comments. Just let us know we're not alone, right? And hoping today for you to not just come out of here with a little bit of education, some understanding to know that one, you're not alone. With the struggle is real with the things that your body is going through. And it's okay. There's hope as long as you know what to do, what to expect, and all those things. So honestly, I'm just going to turn it over. I know, Melissa, I would love for you to start with sharing your own experience and expertise in menopause, and letting everybody in the group just know, who you are and the fact that you can relate, walking through it yourself.
Absolutely. Good morning, everybody. Hello. It has, like Coach Angela said, it has been some years since we have done this, and that is a shame because things have definitely shifted over the last 5 years for sure. But my name is Melissa Potts Kutchek. As Angela said, I am a holistic health practitioner, and I actually am a former clinical researcher. So I used to work in the pharmaceutical industry for over 25 years and came out of that arena. I was a bit burned out and then came out of that arena. But most of my clients wanted to heal or wanted to do things more naturally. Like, what can I do naturally to help with this? What can I do naturally to help with that? So I actually shifted my entire career around, and I lived that way myself because I was allergic to a lot of medications. So I had to live that way myself. And so I actually had to shift my personal story, having Hashimoto's and another autoimmune condition. But 5 years ago, I found myself during the whole COVID, craziness, right smack dab in the middle of menopause. So even though I'm still super passionate about those that have Hashimoto's and thyroid and metabolism issues, right? That Coach Angela is just so amazing when it comes to that topic. That being a former researcher, I have to research everything, right? So it doesn't matter that I do things naturally. If there is no data behind it, I don't talk about it. There has to be proven data for me to come back and say, okay, you guys, Here's the research behind it. This is what we know. Here's your options, right? So because of my pharma background, I can give options between something that's a little bit more holistic or natural first, and then work our way into pharma if necessary, right? So that's how I live my life. That is how I do my coaching and my consulting. And so when I found myself in menopause and having Hashimoto, so having metabolic issues my entire life, and then having menopause on top of it, I was like, I found my community doing that shift as well. They started coming to me and going, okay, this is what's going on. What's going on? Like, what is happening to me? And I'm like, I don't know, because actually myself going through menopause, I did it naturally. So I actually went through menopause with a little bit of a breeze. But about a year and a half ago, that postmenopausal things, that you know, big dip, which we're going to talk about a little bit more, but those big dip in hormones caught up with me. And I was like, oh, I need to pivot. Like, and I need to pivot quickly. And we talk about that all the time. Like, you're going to have to do some pivoting in these next few years coming up. So we can talk about that more. But I want to take a step back really quick. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for talking about this, Angela, because so many women are struggling, and they're even coming into that thing like, okay, like I think I was okay, but all of a sudden now the night sweats are unbearable. The libido and the, effects on your relationship are gone, and happening very dramatically. The skin is sagging like uncontrollably. There's so many things that are happening, and we are not our mother's menopause at all. Things have changed over the last 20, 25, 30 years since our mothers went through, 40 years since our mothers went through menopause. So there is drastic changes all around us. So thank you so very deeply for something I am now very, very passionate about and talking and researching about.
Absolutely. I mean, thank you for taking the time. You got those of y'all that listen, like, you should definitely follow Melissa when you get done with this, because she is someone, the reason why I have her in here is because I know she does the research. I mean, there's plenty of coaches and people all over social media claiming to be the expert, and be careful who you follow, in my personal opinion, because number one, she's walked through it. Number two, I know her. Like, she geeks out on the information, and she's not going to put anything out there, and she's not going to even guide you if it's something that she ends up helping you with, unless she knows the science behind it and it's been freaking proven. And that's what I've always loved and respected about you.
Thank Yeah.
And not just some other, trying to say that I'm an expert to make a dollar off someone. Like, you and I both have that similar, like, pet peeve, like,
Yeah,
ouch.
yeah, for
So I have
sure.
to say that. Just had to say that. But
No,
I think
I love that women are talking about menopause, right?
100%.
Like it is not something that, it used to be like a hush hush thing, right? Like, oh,
Yes.
I'm going through the change. Did you hear that?
Yes.
I'm going
I
through
did.
the change. Okay, what change? Like, what is going to happen to me? Oh, well, mood, right? They talk about mood all the time, and mom's not the same anymore, and all of this. And I'm like, but why? Right?
Exactly.
Why are we not the same? What happened? And until I started doing, like I said, about 5 years ago, switching and started diving more into menopause and what in the heck was happening to us, I was like, oh my poor mom, right? Like I wish our moms knew what we can find and research now, right?
Right.
So it's definitely being talked about more. I think, with social media, a lot of things come up. But what really scares me, and what I would love to warn your crew about, is be really careful about theories, opinions, and research, right? Data proven research. There is a massive difference. So the blogs or these people that come on and they say, oh, you need to do this, you need to do, I was in menopause and I did this, this, and this, and you're like, okay, but what's the data behind that? Like, it worked for you. That's amazing that it worked for you, and I'm so happy. But what's the data behind that? Will it work for most of the population, or is it working for you because of the way that your metabolism ran? Right? Like, not everybody there is no one size fits all. I cannot say that enough. I know it's getting very cliche to say that, but there really isn't, because I can give 5 people a Mediterranean plan or 5 people a high protein plan. They will not react the same at all.
Yes.
Right. So
That's for sure.
that's just be cautious of those opinion people or somebody that's backing just one product. That's another thing that gets me a little, or just saying, oh, you have to go bioidenticals or you have to go only holistic. The only thing that's work is holistic or natural, right? Because no, that's not what holistic means. Holistic actually means your body as a whole. And when we can't control things a certain way, we have to look at all avenues of the way to make you heal, right? And sometimes it includes pharmaceuticals,
Right.
right? I like to do that as our last resort, but sometimes it does, right? And we
Right.
can talk about, I mean, I could go on an hour conversation about the different things that you can do to help menopause, right? Hormonally, but
Right.
that's a whole other topic.
Yeah, that'll be maybe a whole other day. We'll come back and re-hit it. But
Yeah.
so I think you said something that it was kind of like our next little point in question is like, what exactly is going on in our body during
Yeah.
all these phases? Because there are the phases, the peri, the straight up menopause, and then the post. Like
Yep.
maybe
Yep.
a short version, if there's even a thing of what exactly is going on in your body.
Yeah, so this is where I geek out a little bit. So I'm going to try and keep it as unclinical as possible for everybody, right? So if I get too clinical, like slap me upside the head or do something, but um very simply, there's 3 stages actually of menopause. Okay? So there is perimenopause, which usually, not everybody, these are all averages, you guys. So, some might be earlier, some might be later. On average, a woman age 37 to 42 will start going through perimenopause. On average, perimenopause lasts 7 to 10 years. It's a long time, right? Some women may go through it in 5, some women it may take 12, right? But on average, it's 7 to 10 years of the perimenopause stage. They usually hit that somewhere around their 40s. I was really on target. I started at 40. Mine started at 40, 41. I started noticing changes going on in my body. By age 50, I hit menopause, right? So mine literally lasted 10 years. But in perimenopause, I really want to touch base about this because this is where women may start noticing a couple things. It may hit them super drastically or it may not at all, right? Perimenopause, about the first 5 years, if we do it on a 10-year basis, the first 5 years of perimenopause, your progesterone, we have 3 hormones that affect us in menopause. We have estrogen, progesterone, and then what we call follicular stimulating hormone, FSH, right? So progesterone and estrogen start dropping and follicular stimulating hormone, which basically is the thing that stimulates your ovaries to produce eggs, that starts rising because your brain has to have your ovaries produce it more and more and more to produce the eggs, right? Eventually, we have a storage of eggs in our ovaries and those run out. So once that starts raising to a certain point, it starts affecting progesterone and estrogen. Progesterone is the one that's affected first. So what we start to see, and what usually is probably the biggest complaint I hear about, is you get menobelly, right? You start getting that little bit of a pooch in the belly, and everybody's like, what happened? Like, why am I gaining weight? Well, that's because that's what progesterone affects the most. So that menobelly starts popping up. About 5 years later, again on average, about 5 years later, estrogen starts depleting as well because your ovaries are stopping production of all this. Your ovaries are the two things that are the most major producers in all of this. Okay, your adrenal glands have a little bit of production at that point, but not much. When the estrogen starts dropping, then we start seeing symptoms like lower libido, night sweats, hot flashes. I wrote a whole bunch of things down. Weight gain, right? So that fluff around the middle starts increasing. But more importantly, at this point, we start seeing muscle loss and visceral fat production. So the fat that actually protects our organs starts increasing and starts becoming unhealthy. And women, here's a little side note for you. It doesn't matter if you have heart health issues in your family as a family history or not. As a female in going through menopause, you have an automatic 50% increase of getting heart disease. Anybody, any female, about 50% just from losing estrogen and progesterone. Okay, so that's just perimenopause. That's just your 10 years, 7 to 10 years in perimenopause. Then we come into menopause, and menopause is defined as 1 year only is menopause. And that's defined as the first time you stop your menstrual cycle and go an entire year without a menstrual cycle. And a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of people, they go 11 months and then wham, have a menstrual cycle again. They're like, no. So you're technically not in menopause. You may see like changes in your menstrual cycles later perimenopause, but you are technically not through or not in menopause until you have 1 year full cycle of no cycles at all. Once you do that, once you have that clinically, once you have that full year, you are considered postmenopause, right? Your ovaries in menopause are now going into they're out. They're retiring. They're like, I'm done. I'm out of here. I've given you a good 30, 35 years of work. I'm out. I'm going to Boca, right? They don't want to work anymore. So that's when all those crazy symptoms start popping up, right? So no progesterone, really low progesterone. Testosterone is actually affected at this point as well, and estrogen. And that's when all those symptoms start coming into effect. So once your ovaries shut down, right? So once we have that year of menopause and your ovaries shut down, we have two little tiny glands on top of our kidneys called adrenal glands. They are the only thing that produces estrogen for us. So if you are inflamed, right? If you are stressed, if you are not getting enough sleep, if you are not doing your workout right, if you are not getting nutrition properly, if you are not doing the things, those two little glands become so overworked because those two little glands your entire life are also what affect cortisol. And cortisol is what causes that belly bulge. Okay, so that's where that comes from. Though it's working in such overtime, cortisol is the one hormone that affects fat. No matter what, it affects your fat. So that because those two little glands are being overworked for estrogen now, it's being overworked for I keep saying cholesterol, cortisol as well. So those are the three stages. And postmenopause, as long as you're treating your adrenal glands really nicely and you're, making them VIP and everything, you should be able to kind of control some of that effect. But if you're not, if you have a death in the family, if you work is overstressed, if you are having troubles in your relationship, if you are just having a bad day, that will affect your cortisol, which will in turn affect your fat production. All right. So that's what's happening postmenopausally.
Gotcha.
So estrogen is in charge of a lot of things in our body, but progesterone is the muscle factor. So that's why you start seeing loss of muscle, increased weight, increased fat, the whole thing. So that's kind of those three stages. Did I answer that okay?
No. Yeah, and I feel like, okay, you just described me at the peri I've been on progesterone myself for a couple years, right around the 41-year mark. Like you said, it's
Yep.
like progesterone was first for me, and then libido, all the things that you said. I'm like, oh yeah, she's explaining a lot of things. It makes sense even for myself.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So it's like I fought it. I'm like, oh, okay. There's no way, like at
yes,
age 40, I'm gonna just be magically perimenopausal, right? Like, oh, did nature come up and go, wham? Oh, yes, you
slap you
are.
in the face. Yeah. And yes, because I think so many of us, if you're listening now, I know I tell women all the time, when we start talking, even before we talk about nutrition and they're struggling and they're doing all these things, I'm like, have you had your blood work done in a while? I always ask that question now since I started walking through that because every 3 months I
Yes,
get rechecked because it's so crucial. I mean, they might literally find what you're sharing today that's going on in their body so that they're not broken. It's not hopeless. It's just a matter of like, you got to understand what's going on inside your body. And you hit on
right.
a few things. What I definitely want to elaborate. So when these things are going on in your body and you're going through any of these stages, the belly fat is probably the most the belly fat, and then just I hear this all the time. You probably do too. It's just like I feel like I just put on 20 pounds overnight. Like
Hmm.
and it, did it. I mean, I know you didn't wake up 20 pounds heavier, but it feels like it's overnight, like it came on rapid speed. Like besides those two things, or maybe elaborate a little bit on those two. I think a lot of women can relate to that right now. Like
Yeah,
why does that happen?
this is huge, and I know that you. This is why Angela and I get along so well, right? We're
Yeah.
just like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
But you have different fats in your body. So to try and make it very simply, I talked about visceral fat. Visceral fat is needed in the body, especially when you're younger, to protect your organs. That's the kind of the thicker fat that if we didn't have that fat and we got hit, right? And that fat wasn't there, our organs would, I mean, very dramatically, would explode, right? They would be damaged. So that visceral fat is there to protect them. The problem is that visceral fat, and we're going to, for all intents and purposes, I'm going to call it yellow, right? The yellow fat, because it's so thick, when that thickens even more and more and more, that's when it becomes dangerous, right? Because then it starts pushing on our organs. Then we have something that I very, very clinically call fluff fat, right? The jello fluff marshmallow fat, right? So if you look at your waistline and your belly button, when the fat starts producing above that belly button, that's when it gets scary. Okay. When you start producing the fluff fat, right, the jello fat below the belly button, it could be because of two different reasons. You may just be producing some fluff fat, right? The fluff fat is not really the dangerous fat. So the fluff that's on your butt or your thighs, I talk about this all the time. If you have a big butt and thick thighs, that's not a health issue, right? But if you have a tire, if you're starting to get that tire around your waistline, this is when we get concerned, really concerned, because that visceral fat pocket is likely getting bigger, which is pushing the fluff fat out further, right? So then you get that belly. Did you ever hear the phrase way back when we were younger? If you can pinch more than an inch,
Yes.
yeah. So if you can pinch more than an inch, if you can pinch and it's fluffy and movable, it's not quite as bad as if you touch it and it's hard.
Gotcha.
That's when we get really nervous, especially above the belly button. And the reason is women carry their hearts lower than men. So that's why heart disease, is the number one killer of women. Okay. So the only thing that will get rid of fluff fat is basically working out. Right. So some type of movement that is helping reduce that fluff fat. That's some inflammation factors. The visceral fat, that is where you really need to focus on. And the visceral fat is various different factors between sleep, nutrition, and keeping muscle on your body.
I love that you said sleep too. It's
Don't even
something.
get me going with sleep. Yes.
Yeah,
So
I mean, we could do a whole
we
video
could
on
do a whole
sleep.
nother, yeah, cast on
Yes.
sleep, but sleep is, if you don't have your sleep controlled, there's just a brand new study that's recently been published. Oh God, what journal? I will figure out the journal for you, and I'll find the study and we can drop it in here,
Yes,
Angela.
that'd be
But
amazing.
if you don't get sleep, you may as well not be dieting because it actually affects your fat loss that much. So if you are not getting good sleep, don't bother dieting. I say this leniently, right? Because it's you can flip that too. If you're not eating or working out properly either, it's going to affect your sleep, right?
Right.
So it's twofold. But you've got to work on that sleep, and you can help sleep better by focusing on nutrition and movement. So there's still two important things.
Yeah,
But
I'll go.
you won't lose fat. You won't have fat loss unless you are sleeping correctly.
Boom.
So
Mic
yeah,
drop right there.
right?
We talk about sleep a lot in our community too, in here and in our coaching and with the clients, like because sleep, I mean, I would rather someone focus on the sleep than, like you said, the dieting or even working out. I mean, obviously they all go hand in hand, but
Right.
she said, you guys, I know y'all heard us say that in this community. If you're not getting good sleep, you could be dieting all day long and you could be working out all day long. But if your quality of sleep is not prioritized and there's ways to do it, obviously, but you're going to have a really hard time. And honestly, I see a lot of women having weight gain issues. They're doing the two things really well, but the sleep is not well. And
Right.
so I'm glad that you just hit that on the head.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's
so what?
vital.
Yeah,
Those three things are the vital things especially for a menopausal woman.
yeah,
Again, your heart disease will increase if you're not getting correct sleep, right? So
yes,
diabetes can increase if you're not getting correct sleep. It's all coming back to cortisol, insulin. Like, again, these are all other things that we can come in and talk about, but that's all a factor when you hit menopause, and that all changes for women that are perimenopause, menopause, or postmenopausal, because estrogen and progesterone are our two hormonal drivers in our body as women that affect cortisol and insulin. So when those start dropping, you're gonna notice everything. And one of the things I didn't mention, and I really should, some of your people, especially Angela, might be complaining about joint and hip pain. That is a real thing. That is because of progesterone and estrogen. So that probably around, I'm going to say if you're on a 10-year marker, you're going to start noticing 7, 8, 9 when progesterone and estrogen start dropping, joint pain. So you go to the doctor and you're like, I am so achy. And they're like, oh, it's probably just arthritis
yeah,
because you're getting older. No, this is a hormonal issue. And when people start working on inflammation, and Angela, I know that you're definitely into this as well. If you
yes,
come to me and say, what do I do first? I'm going to say, I don't care what you do of anything. We've got to work on inflammation no matter what, because if we don't, nothing else is going to start working.
yes,
So that is huge but it becomes tenfold, right? When you hit those menopausal years. So even if you like we're easy breezy going through menopause or postmenopause and you're doing all the things right, this is when we need to start talking to our daughters, our nieces, things like that. Because if you aren't doing the muscle things first correctly now in your 30s and 40s, you are going to struggle in your 50s and 60s. Ask me how I know. Ask me how I know. It's hard to catch up.
yeah.
And that's the one thing I was like, oh God, I'm doing great, right? I'm doing my resistance training, I'm doing my yoga, I'm doing all the things. And then I woke up one day and I went, what the hell happened to my arms? My muscle is like gone overnight, right? Well, it wasn't
Yeah.
overnight. I just didn't notice until I looked in the mirror one day and went, oh my
Yes.
God, you have to consistently shift. It will be a consistent shift over these next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So obviously eat, sleep, and strength train, which is what we coach, not high intense cardio and all these crazy things that actually spikes your cortisol more than anything.
Correct.
Strength training, building muscle. We do a lot of walking in our community.
Yep.
No long distance running. Again, that's more strain, more stress, more cortisol than it is anything else. But when it comes to food, I know we chatted very briefly before this. Like we also I don't like the word brainwash, but we kind of like drive it into your brain to prioritize protein, 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 protein is our friend. So, like, when it comes to the season of life, it's so incredibly crucial to focus on sleep, to get your strength training in so you can support muscle, build muscle. But then on the nutrition side, I know we see so many women still under eating, like, which is
Mm-hmm.
doing a very disadvantage to your body and your hormones and everything, not just more now when you're in the season of life than even when you're in our younger years. This is why we could have gotten away with that in our 20s, I feel like, and our body still responded. It doesn't work in our 40s and beyond for reasons you're hearing
Correct.
today. But
Yeah,
what are
you're
some
at your
tips?
highest state of progesterone and estrogen between like 16 and I'm gonna say 28. Those are like your little golden years, right? So you're like, oh, I am like a hot little mama. We're in our bikinis. It's all working great. And then those 30s hit, and you're like, got to work a little harder. I got to go on that treadmill a little longer, right? And then your 40s hit, and you're like, uh, ooh, I don't look good in a bikini anymore. What
Yeah. And so
happened?
many go back to trying to do what we did in our 20s. I know I was guilty of this for a long time. I was like, I am just not, I refuse. I can do this. Till I
Right.
realized, like, no, I shouldn't be doing this. I will actually work out less, eat more than I ever have, and feel better. And body's responding even more so now lately because I've been focusing on the cortisol, like you talked about, as well as.
Yeah.
But anything else that you would suggest, like,
Well,
just real
I have a little nutrition thing that I learned
go?
over in a couple of my classes that I've been taking. I always use a different analogy, but I want you to think about this. I know that people are preaching protein like crazy, right? Like high protein, high protein, high protein, high protein. The problem with that is there's a couple of problems with that. If you do just protein, right? In our later years, not having the estrogen and progesterone, if you're not doing fat and carbohydrates along with it, you're going to have severe issues in your 60s and 70s. And what I mean by that is you have a greater risk of dementia if you are not getting the proper nutrition. We have three macros in our body for a reason, right?
Yes.
We have carbohydrates, protein, and fat for a reason because that's what our bodies work off of. Now, what we find over the years is they told us low fat, low fat, low fat. Well, to get low fat, we increased sugar, right? That's how we get everything low fat.
Yep.
Sugar doesn't have fat in it. So if I give you 100 calories of each macro, 100 calories of carbohydrates, 100 calories of fat, and 100 calories of protein, all equal, right? So I give you 100 calories in Skittles. We're going to just use fast carbohydrates, right? That's your carbohydrate, your fast carbohydrate. If I give you 100 calories in fat, let's say a pat of butter, and I give you 100 calories in chicken, which is probably about 2 ounces of chicken, right? Is 100 calories. The way your body works, especially in menopause, is that it takes 2% of energy to burn off the carbohydrate, right? So we actually are taking that, like your body has to process it. It takes 2% of energy to process the carbohydrate. It's quick. Your body can transfer that into energy very quickly, but it only needs 2% to do that. So now you're at 98 calories for a carbohydrate, right? For fat, it takes 7% of your energy to break down that fat and put it where it's supposed to go. So now we're at 93 calories. For protein, it takes 25% of energy, your body, 25% of energy to produce that and get it to where it's supposed to go. So now you have 75 calories of energy. Sorry about that. My dog's barking. I don't know what she's barking at.
Oh, I can't hear her. She's good.
Oh, okay. So that's what that's what your body's doing. So it's way more beneficial, right? And we know protein is the muscle builder.
Yep.
Oh, hold on just a second, Angela. I'm sorry.
You're
Hold
fine.
on. Hey. What? Come here. Come here. Come here.
I love this. You guys give Melissa some love and questions in the comments. If we have time to get to questions, we totally will. If not, I know she'll come back in here and answer them for us for sure. Great questions. I do see some of them coming in. Yeah, perimenopause was the worst time ever, Colleen. I think there's a lot of people that can relate to you on that. 100%. 100%.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Real life, right? If it's
Yep.
not the kids, it's the dog.
Not the kids, it's
So,
dogs.
so okay, yeah. So that's why protein is such a beneficial thing. And in the United States, we don't even be close to get enough
Mm-mm.
women in the United States. So that's why protein is so vital, and that's why we're focusing on protein more. But you can't take away those two other macros either. Your
No
body
carnivore
still needs
dieting,
them,
please.
right? So if you take away carbohydrates and fat, your brain's gonna get affected,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you take that away, your brain works off of sugar, fat, and protein, right? What we noticed, right, during the Atkins days is those people that were on those really severe protein fat protocols, they got earlier dementia. That is in the research now. So you just need to be cautious of that. So that's my little tip there for that.
I love that. Yeah. So y'all heard it. Put
Interrupted tip.
protein in the comments if you're listening. Protein. You guys hear it. We just did a protein challenge actually in this group, not last week, the prior to it, just to educate and help women start getting more protein in their nutrition. But we're big. I'm a big advocate of the carb. I mean, the carbs and the fats have to be there in place too. Don't you dare cut them out. Don't cutting out carbs just to drop something on the scale is not the answer. You know, especially in this season of life, we need them for our body. We need them for a fuel. And if you want to build some
Absolutely.
muscle, your body also needs the healthy fats and the carbs like she just talked about. So if you're someone who fears carbs, I hope maybe that got through a little bit of a don't fear them. You
So
need them.
yeah, just to touch on this too, a lot of women in my group are going to the physicians and they're saying you need to eat less and work
Yes,
out more. I am telling you right now, that
not the
is
answer.
very old school thinking, right? That is the calorie in, the calorie out scenario. It, number one, with women in general, because of their hormone, that doesn't work. Right. So you please listen to Angela when she is telling you you have to eat more. You have to eat more. What we need to stop doing is running on the treadmill for 3 hours
Yes.
because you don't have that ovary production anymore. Remember, I told you your ovaries went to Boca, they're retired. You don't have those hormone backgrounds to support running on a treadmill for 3 hours. If you've been doing that your entire life, if you're the marathon runner and you've been doing that your entire life, that might be a totally different story. So you might need to go from running 25 miles, 26 miles, down to running 13 miles, right? We might need to adjust it that way. Don't stop running. Don't stop doing what you love.
Right.
Don't stop kickboxing. Don't stop what you love, but we may have to adjust how you're doing it. We may have to do it for 20 minutes now instead of an hour, right? And then put resistance training in there. Okay, resistance training, number one for menopausal women. If you are not doing some type of resistance training, you are harming your body at this point.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Yes. So last thing I think, what mindset shifts are your favorite to educate women on in this season of life so that they can get through it a little bit easier whenever their mindset is in the right place?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest mindset shift is having women. I, I need to be cautious when I'm talking about this. Back off on exercise and actually eat more.
Amen.
You right? So this is
Yes.
where we have been trained our entire lives to calorie deficit. That's the only way that we're going to lose weight. That is such a false statement. I can't even begin to describe it. And if you talk to any of my people that I coach, you are consistently going to be shifting, and be okay with that. Give yourself some grace. We say this over and over again. Give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. Give yourself grace that something may be shifting and something may be changing, and that is okay. However, we still need to address it. You can't ignore it. Ignoring will get you nowhere.
Exactly.
Right? Addressing it and saying, my God, my skin is getting crepey. Right? There's some vanity metrics and then there's health metrics, right? But vanity metrics, I'm going to touch base on this real quick. Everybody's like, "Oh, well that's just aging. That's just aging." Vanity metrics affect your confidence. And when you affect your confidence, you affect your mood. And when you affect your mood, you affect your health. Right? So be open to one, things will change. Don't do what I did to say, no, this is just smack talk. Things are going to change. But they don't have to change for the worse. They don't have to change in a my life is ending matter or I'm getting old matter. Right? Just know that they're going to change and be okay with that and take action upon it. Go seek out Angela and say, what can I do now? Like, I'm noticing this. What should I do now? Is there anything I can do now? Right? Aging is a process. We all go through it. Thank God. Because the other option, not so much.
Exactly.
Right? Not so much. So these cliche things of aging with grace and things like that, all of a sudden, now I look at that in a little bit different view. Okay, I'm aging, but I don't have to age with losing all of my hair and not being able to grow it back. That's another big complaint I hear. My hair has changed. So what I've done is I've actually taken and developed protocols for each of these like symptom complaints. I don't like to call them complaints, but they really are. But I've
Yeah.
developed protocols, a hair loss protocol, what you can do to get your hair a little bit more thick, what you can do to start whittling, right? So Angela knows this. I focused on waistline. We've got to keep that waistline under 35 inches. I mean, American Diabetes Association, American Heart Association, all these associations, American Diabetes actually lowered it to 32 for women, that your waistline should be under 32 for health purposes. Okay, we know that there's now another type 3 diabetes, and that's dementia. That's the memory related diabetes that's affecting it's a problem. It's a big problem right now. Very big problem. So know that these things will happen. You can kind of prep for them, but please, whatever you do, don't hyper focus on this, right? That causes like severe, live your life. Be happy, be joyful. Know that there are things that you can do to manage these things. Breath work for stress. Like there's so many different things that you can do to help manage these things. But if you focus on your nutrition, even a little bit, right? I use the 80-20 rule. Angela, I don't know if you do that, but I use 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, if we can focus on the good things, getting the good things in, 20% of the time, give yourself a little grace. Go have a glass of wine,
Yeah.
right? So if that's what you choose, go eat the ice cream cone if that's what you choose. But you've
Absolutely.
got to focus. You've got to focus on the other things if you want changes. If you want to just go as is, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, I love that.
Does
I
that
love
help?
that because yeah, it's life is too short to be miserable. And if we set ourselves up knowing this is going to happen, if you're not in that season yet, some of you are in it, past it, all the things, and you're like, I so relate to everything you're saying. Melissa, that was me, that was me, that was me. But it's so incredibly important to have the mindset shift, to know to accept it and know that it's okay. And like you said, don't get hyper focused on it,
Hmm.
especially the number on the scale, because not only is that not a very it's a very negative place to be, and just in general without all these things going on. But when you're in this season of life, if that's all you're obsessing over because you're not where you once were, in your 20s, like you're going to drive yourself crazy, add
Yeah.
more stress and cortisol to your life, which is negatively impacting your body and your hormones and everything else that you just talked about. So putting the mindset, and this is why I know you and I are very much alike. When you coach and consult women, and every program that I run, I don't run a single program that doesn't have mindset in it, and helping women see like what to focus on. And yeah, the 80-20 rule, I'm such a big fan of. Like we teach baby steps, food freedom. You need to go have the pizza night with your family if that's what you want to do, the
Right.
wine occasionally, the vacations. Like it's not a death sentence. I feel like so many women go into that stage of like, oh God, I'm 40, like, oh God, the world is ending. It's not ending, it's just beginning. It's just gonna look slightly different. It's just gonna look slightly different. I don't know
Right.
about you. She said it, and I know I say it all the time. You got ladies, is I find like I'm excited for this season of life. The fact that I have to work out less and actually eat more to get better results and serve my body. I mean, sign me up. I don't want to eat less and have to spend hours in the gym. Like
Right.
we most of us don't have that kind of time anyway. So the fact that you should, we preach this all the time, work out less with more intentional with building strength, and building muscle, excuse me, through strength exercises, and eat more. I see it all the time when women actually do it and trust the process and trust me when I say it. Not only do they feel better, they start to have their confidence again, and they actually start to get results in this season of life a lot of times as well too. So I love that you just hit that. So where can they follow you, Melissa? And I promise I'll let you go.
No, it's fine. Like I said, you guys, I could go on for hours. Literally, I
Me
could
too.
talk about it for hours. So, but we can come back and talk about different things at different time. But yeah, you can follow me. My TikTok is slightly changing because it used to be all Hashimoto's and thyroid, but a lot of metabolism still. So you can follow me on TikTok. I'm still on there if you are on TikTok. My Instagram is just being redeveloped as well, but you can follow me on Facebook, or you can join my Facebook group, which is Natural Menopause Solutions, Wealthy Dose of Sass and Soul.
Awesome. I love it.
So,
And
and
we'll put
everything is
it in
under
here.
Melissa Potts Kutchek. So
Yeah.
if you type in Melissa Potts Kutchek, all the Instagrams and the TikToks and the everything will come up the same,
Awesome.
just
And I
under my
did
name.
tag you, or like, listen, like y'all, I tagged her name in the title of this video. So you can literally just click and follow her, and you can get connected to all her as well too. Because again, as you saw today, like we could have gone on for hours and hours and hours. I think we could literally break up little pieces and do more segments because it's
Mhm.
so incredibly and powerful, or excuse me, empowering and powerful. I just totally put those words together, but you get what I'm saying, y'all. There's hope. You just have to serve your body. You have to understand it, what you're walking through, and community, stick together, join her Facebook
Absolutely.
group. We're in our,
Please.
I don't think you can have enough community, in my personal opinion, in a sense, to be surrounded by other women that get you, the other women that are walking through a very similar, season of life, who truly understand what you're walking through. Like, don't do it alone, because there's so many women walking through it as well too. So we're all here to do it together. So thank you, Melissa. I appreciate you so much, and I look forward to doing more of these. We cannot wait 5 years to do it again.
No, please, no, we can't do that. No, no,
No, not
no.
at all.
Thank you so, so much. Again, number one, for addressing this topic, letting women know that there is hope, and it is a different than when, our moms and grandmas went through it. And
Yes.
having me on again. What an
Of course.
honor. What an honor. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Y'all have an amazing day. Go follow Melissa, and more to come, and we'll chat soon. Bye.
Bye.